Pleasant good evening. January 18th. Blessed Tuesday night teaching, everyone. Dre, aka the Carnival Ref. And 2 weeks ago, we started a conversation, a show about building Caribbean wealth. So we wanted to take that further. We wanted to find out how we could really make things happen and go through the step-by-step process wherever we can. And of course, bringing back to the panel will be Stephen Chukwan, my business partner, my brother of Trinity Jungle Juice, and special guest who's going to be driving our new, series called From Rags to Real Estate Riches, Tiffany Gray. So without further ado, let's just get things going. Let's get things pumping. Let's get Stephen on, and then we will bring on Tiffany to give you guys the real juice, right? The real talk. Greetings and salutations. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, Trinity Jungle Juice family. Always glad to be here.
Let me hold on a second. I now realize I'm looking the wrong way. And now it makes more sense. There we go. So we started talking about building Caribbean wealth. And it's a key thing because within the Caribbean community, we want to find out ways to obviously have generation wealth, right?
Yeah. Before today, we're going to take them on that journey, as you said, right? We're going to take them from rags to real estate riches. But before we do that, I would like to share a personal story and the reason why this project means so much to me, right? 2 generations ago, right, our grandmother, and I'm just going to turn the picture here, right? So you can see that picture back there, right? That's our grandmother. And she had 9 kids. And our grandfather actually died early. And she was left by herself to raise 9 kids. Now imagine having 0 money, 9 children, and you're living in a 1-bedroom in Laventille, right? This is 2 generations ago. Now, you see that picture behind me there? So you probably wondered that you see that last week, but why is that there? So my uncle actually went to her and said, listen, it's going to be okay. I know what we're going to do. And he went down to the market. So that's actually a marketplace. And Andre and I bought that painting in Antigua when we were on a trip there. And, it was my first piece of art. And you remember I spent some good money on that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And the reason I bought that is because it reminds me of that story, that marketplace. And what he did is he brought back a lot of fruits and vegetables and stuff, and they sold it. And they sold it at a slight markup and made a little money. And then they eventually took that money and made more and more money. And then with that money, they actually bought a piece of real estate. And, today's story, we're going to tell you how that came to be. So these stories are meaningful to us. And it's actually, as 2 generations in, we went from dirt poor, where my mother would tell stories of having to wash a potty with dirt because they didn't have enough soap, right? That is the true meaning of dirt poor.
It's starting to sound like a video that's going viral right about now, from a particular Miss T&T.
I don't
we have no water. We're sleeping on the ground.
Well, let me tell you, you're talking about 2 generations ago, so now we're talking about generational wealth, right? And how to be able to build that using real estate. Because she actually bought a house, rented the back room, and then put up an ADU and a DADU, which is 2 attached pieces onto it, and actually rent those, and actually had passive income and raised all 9 kids, right? So today we want to tell you, listen, you yourself could have a similar story. You could build generational wealth. And let's bring Tiffany in, because today we're going to get into the how do you do this?
Tiffany Gray.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Tiffany. Thanks for being here with us again tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Tiffany, you heard that story?
Stephen's story.
Yeah. I know you didn't know that story, right, Tiffany?
I did not know that story. That's a very impressive story.
This is the true story. This is the story of Trinity Jungle Juice.
I love it. It's similar to a lot of stories, a lot of building wealth through real estate stories.
Absolutely, absolutely. And tonight, so the last time we spoke about you need knowledge. You just can't jump into real estate just for real estate's sake, right? You actually need knowledge about real estate in order to make money. So let me ask you a question, Tiffany. If I, like many other people, wanted to get into real estate, but I had like zero bank, like I didn't have any money. What advice do you have for people like that? Like, how would we get into it?
For people that don't have any money, what advice I will give is get your credit right, because it's down payment assistance program out there that's available, right?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm ambitious, I'm creative, and I'm hungry. So for all our young generations here coming in saying, well, you know what? I want an opportunity. How do we get them started when they have nothing and they want to get off from ground zero? How would we help them?
So the way I would help them, the first thing, the most important thing, I would look at their credit, right? And I would repair their credit. I would analyze their credit and let them know what we need to do from A to Z to get their credit in a position that they could purchase. We could add trade lines, we could dispute negative items, but the first and foremost thing I will definitely pay attention to is the credit.
Now you're saying something really important here, and I want people to catch this. Why is credit so important?
Because we live in a country that credit is king. Cash is king as well, but credit is more so king because cash in this country is kind of regulated. If you have too much of it and you try to go and purchase, they're going to want to know where that come from, where it came from, right? So in this country, credit is king.
Yes. There's another point that she's bringing up here that I want to add to. When you have good credit, the bank will give you a better lending rate. They will give you a better interest rate. Now, it's so hard because if you don't have that credit history, they're going to charge you more because you're high risk.
Yes. So not only that the bank will give you a better interest rate, the car that you're driving, the insurance that you have on that car, you could get a lower insurance rate if you have good credit. Good credit goes a long way. It's not just for building wealth through real estate. It's for everything that you do that involves credit.
You definitely want to get this right. So the first thing you want to get right is your credit.
It's the credit. And it's so easy. Just let's say it's, okay, for example, let me give you a story. When I was 19 years old, right? Going on 19, I went to this big, beautiful home, and I never lived in a home per se with my mom, right? Because my mom was struggling. So we didn't have our own house. Right. So I went to this big, beautiful home in California. I was like, oh my God, one day this is going to be me. Right.
Yes.
I was actually 18, almost 19. I was like, one day this is going to be me. Right. I had no clue about credit because it's not like back in the days we wasn't taught about credit. So I had no clue about credit. So I actually picked up a book and, because I was a little nerd. So I picked up the book, I read the book, and it gave me all these different tools. Right. But then I didn't really have the knowledge to back that up. So I started asking a lot of questions. And what I did was I started paying attention to the credit, because one of the key tools was your credit is king. Right. So I paid attention to credit. And then I started asking family members, hey, can I be an authorized user on your credit card? You don't have to give me the credit card. As long as your credit card balance is below 30% and you've never been late, please add me to it. So then that will boost my credit. So this is a little tip, guys. You don't have to pay someone. You can ask your family member to add you as an authorized user on your credit. That will help you jumpstart your credit.
Absolutely. And once they start getting some credit history, what is the next step for such an ambitious person?
Well, the next step for such an ambitious person, let's say they have the credit. The next step, the first step is they're going to get the credit. They're going to contact me or someone that's knowledgeable, but preferably me, right? So once they have the credit, the next step, we're going to go house hunting, right? We're going to go house hunting because that's going to give you another initiative to even move faster, right? It's going to get you more hungry, right? So we'll go house hunting. That's what I like to do with my clients. We get your credit right. Let's go house hunting so you can see what's out there, right? This is assuming they have a job. Even
Okay.
if they're self-employed or W-2, it's assuming they have a job, right? So we go out, we go house hunting. Then we get you pre-approved, right, for a particular amount. We see what's out there. We can see from the lows to the highs. Then we want to draft up a plan. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? What is your passive income goal? Like a $50,000 passive income, that's only how much a month?
Let's say
Less-
that's about 4,000 a month.
Right. Right. Less than 5,000. It's 4,000 a month. It's like 4166, something like that, right?
Yep.
You could actually do that with your first purchase that you buy. And the way you could do that is buying a duplex, a multifamily, like a 3-unit, 4-unit.
Mhm.
The idea of that is you live in one of the unit and you rent the others. And so you let the tenants pay for your mortgage and give you a cash flow. And
This is like free money.
And that's free money. I mean, you living for free. Where do you do that?
Yeah. All right, let's pull back. Let's pull back. Here's the question, right? We go in house hunting. My goal is I want to make 50K passive income a year, which is roughly around $4,000 a month. So I come to you, Tiffany, and I say, Tiffany, I want to put 50K extra in my bank each year. When we at the point of going house hunting, what is our range of homes are we looking at? We're not looking at $1 million homes, are we?
No, we don't want to start.
So what range? So for 50K, what is our range of homes or houses or multi-duplexes we're looking at?
Well, this is all going to depend on the state that you're in, right?
Okay.
So
should we choose a state? Should we choose Florida? Should we choose Atlanta, New York?
Atlanta, right?
Atlanta. Okay.
Atlanta. Let's
Okay.
choose Atlanta. So let's say the median price range is between 250 and 300.
Okay.
Right. So let's choose that figure, 300. So
Now, how do you pick, Tiffany? How do you pick your neighborhoods that you want to go drive in?
you pick your neighborhoods, like if you want the most profit, the most equity, your equity grows for you, because that's another thing. Passive income is one thing, but when you buy real estate, not only that you get passive income, but you get equity as well. So then you could make the big bucks, the bigger bucks, right? But you pick your neighborhoods as the school district. You want to get school district that is high A's and B's, because people will pay for that, right? So you pick the school district. Is it close to public transportation? If not public transportation, is it a lot of stores around, a lot of parks? Like in Atlanta, they love parks. They love to, like, Mother Nature. Not Mother Nature, but just nature, right? They love to go walking on trails and stuff like that. So you pick it based on the convenience of it.
You're looking for a good church and a good bank in there too?
Yeah, you could throw that in there. But the most important is the school. The school is what's going to give you the most for your month.
Yeah, because those parents love to get a good residential neighborhood that their kids could grow up in and have a nice, safe family with a lot of playgrounds.
Yeah. So whether you have kids or not, school you think is one of the top criteria for neighborhoods.
For neighborhoods, because even if you don't have children, right, you're thinking about if you're going to rent out the other units, you want to be able to rent it out to someone that wants the best for their children. And most parents want the best for their children, right?
Yeah.
So they want to pay that extra premium to make sure that their children is in a good school.
Okay. So we're driving around, we're in good neighborhoods with great schools. We're looking at homes roughly around 300K.
Roughly around 300K, because give or take.
Okay.
But just for argument's sake, right? Let's break down the numbers, because people understand numbers, right? Real estate is a number game. So like for 300K, roughly your payment will be around $1,500, right? That's your mortgage payment. How many people pay that in rent and more? A lot of people. Rent prices, especially in Georgia. I know in New York and Florida, rent prices is high, but in Georgia, it used to be really affordable. Right now, you could get a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom for around $1,800. So purchasing a house, you're going to pay less that you pay in rent, right?
So Tiffany, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because you know how we love to make excuses. I cannot do this, I can't do that, right? Here's my hand. Tiffany, but don't I have to put a down payment on this house? I have no money. How am I going to do that?
Well, that's where the down payment assistance comes in. So if you have good credit, it's different programs in different cities, different counties that you can take a part of and participate in the down payment program. And it's different lenders that also offer down payment program if that city is not offering. You just have to get with the right person that know what they're doing. But you can absolutely purchase a home with zero down. And you can ask the seller to pay closing costs. It's a lot of creative way to structure that purchase contract and structure your loan. But
so if you really, really, really want this and you have the intention to get real estate, it's absolutely possible. No excuses.
Yes, if you really want it, you put your mind to it, you set that goal. You know, I'm not trying to put any beliefs on anyone, but you believe.
No, absolutely.
You're gonna get that home, no matter what. If you believe that that's yours and this is the plan that you want to go towards, and you actually do the action work, you will get that home.
I want to add one thing here. If it is that you don't have a strong why, if you don't know why you want to do this, you're going to fizzle out.
Yes.
You have to have a good reason. Tiffany said she was in a house with her mother and she said, this is going to be me. I told you about the story of my grandmother and how we were building generational wealth. If you have a strong why and an intention to really build wealth, then you could do this. Absolutely. Right?
Right, you're unstoppable as long as you have the strong why. It's a TED Talk about why. Listen to that TED Talk. Know that why. With that why, you can accomplish anything you put your mind to.
Okay, so we go into I think we're about step 3 now. We want to make 50K.
Right.
We house shopping. We got good credits.
Mm-hmm.
We're working towards getting that down payment. If I don't have it, I'm going to get assistance because of my credits.
Right.
Right.
And what if you're
Are we looking to buy something to rent out, or are we looking to buy or flip? What do you recommend at this point?
Well, for your first go around, we're gonna buy something to rent out to get that passive income. If you're a first time home buyer,
so you recommending whole investment versus a flip?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
A flip, you need more money to put down. A flip, they're not going to give you a down payment assistance. So you got to know what's going to work for you. So it's a lot of rules to this, right?
Okay. So now we got approved. We got the deposits. Where do we go next?
So we got approved. We got approved for the down payment. Yep. We actually find the property. We get on the contract. We close. But once we close, then we start advertising that we have, suites for rent or apartments for rent, so forth, and units for rent. We advertise it. Use social media to your advantage. You put it in the newspaper. You get with an agent. The agent listed on the MLS. You advertise those units. If you have a purchase of $300,000 property, right, and let's say it has 3 units, you live in one. Your mortgage payment is $1,500, right? So you live in one, you rent out the other 2. So the other 2, you could probably rent out for $1,500 each, due to the fact that, let's say it's 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms, right? We rent those 2 out for $1,500 each. $1,500, one of the unit pay your mortgage. Your cash flow is the other $1,500. Because you got to understand, your mortgage includes your taxes and insurance. So if someone is paying $1,500, your mortgage is $1,500, including your taxes and insurance, that wipes it out. So then your passive income now is $1,500. So you're halfway there, right? To get to $4,000. So then we repeat. Once you have 3 months of good payment, hey, let's go to the next. Now you want to buy another property, right? And so for argument's sake, let's say you want to buy it for your primary residence so you can get the lower interest rate, because that's the key, right? Because remember, you're just building up. You're building up to get to that big ticket. So you don't want to jump too far in that you cannot handle it, right? So you purchase the 3 unit. Then 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, whatever your appetite is, you say, you know what? I want a primary residence for myself. Or I want another duplex, but this duplex is in a much better area, right? The lender would do it as your primary residence. So then you move out of that triplex. Now that you move out of that triplex, then you have 3 tenants now paying you $1,500. So now your passive income is $3,000, right? So you see where I'm going? You're almost there. So your second home, let's say your second home is not a duplex and it's a single family, but you have a basement with a exterior entrance. You want to rent your basement out, and you say, okay, I'm gonna rent my basement out for another $1,500. That brings you to $4,500 in passive income. You accomplish your goal in 6 months, no problem.
Tiffany, I'm going to play devil's advocate again.
Okay.
Let's say somebody's really afraid to try this. They're like, ah. There's a term going around, wholesaling, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what is wholesaling, and how can that get somebody's appetite whet?
So wholesaling is basically properties that's not on the market, right? So property that's off market that you could get less than what the market price would be if it's listed on the market. But the thing about wholesaling property, you have to have cash. In that arena, cash is king, right? So for a wholesale property, just let's use the same 300,000. Let's say we find a wholesale property for 300,000, but it needs work, right? And after you put that work in, that property will be worth 600,000. So let's say you need to put 100,000 work. So your all-in money is 400,000. Once you finish with that project, sell that project, guess what? You can net 200,000 in profit. But the only thing about wholesaling, you have to have the money to put down if you want to net the big bucks. It's another way that you could do it, but that's like, if you want to net the big bucks and have the control, that's the way to do it.
I've actually seen a very creative way to wholesale. So let me tell you what I've seen, and you tell me your thoughts on it, right?
Okay.
You locate the property. You see this rundown property, and you contact using skip tracing, and you figure out who the person is. Once you've figured out who the person is, you tell them, listen, I have an interest in buying your property, and you agree a price. The person says, okay, I will give you the house for this. You get the house under agreement, so now you have a contract. And then you take the contract to an investor who has the money, and they actually cut you an escrow check. What do you call that?
So say that last part again.
So the last part is you don't actually have the money for the wholesale, but you have it under contract. So then you take the contract and you take it to an investor, and you sell the contract to the investor, and then the contract, when you sell it, they actually give you an escrow out of the payment.
Yes.
So that way you're like, listen, you're basically acting as a broker. You're finding the property, you're getting paid, and you have very limited liability in that deal.
So yeah, so those could be very tricky, but a lot of people do use them. So it's called ABC, right? A contract, B contract. So you find the deal, you, like you said, you do the skip trace and you do all of that. You find the deal. So you get the A contract with the seller, right? So you negotiate with them and say, look, I'll pay you 300,000. Then you find an investor that say, look, I really want this. I'll pay you 350,000, right? So that's where that comes in. And so then you get that check in between for that difference.
Yeah. And that way, that's about being hungry and being creative. So for those people who are saying, listen, I don't have the money, there is a way to do this.
Right. But so those things you actually have to put in the work. Is not so easy. So basically, for someone that wants to do that type of transaction, they have to have the knowledge and the resource, because not every seller is going to say, hey, I trust you, Joe, because, I see that you could buy this property, They're not going to say that. So and then
that's why you need a Tiffany on your side.
Right. And then it's not going to be as easy as doing a skip tracing, right? You could do skip tracing all day, but it's a numbers game. You might have to go through 100 of those to find that one person that is desperate enough to sell. So you have to be able and willing to put in the work.
Yeah. What exactly is skip tracing?
Huh?
What exactly is skip tracing?
Skip tracing is a database that will actually call a lot of numbers for you all at once until somebody picks up. And then when that person picks up, then you do your elevator speech, let them know, hey, I'm trying to buy your home, blah, blah, blah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So let's say somebody had $10,000. So now we're one step up. $10,000, and they say, Tiffany, I have $10,000. How can you get me started? What's your best advice for somebody with 10,000?
With someone with 10,000, no experience, their best advice is to join the investor club so we can help you build you up to a particular place that you could actually purchase. I mean, we do creative financing as well. We, in the investor market, in the investor world, creative things going on. So your best bet is to join the Investor Club. We having a seminar on Saturday. You could join. It's $20 to listen in. We have all the experts talking about every single part of the transaction. So this is the knowledge that you need. Even if you're trying to do the skip tracing on your own, this is the knowledge that you need. So I would really advise anyone that's interested in doing the investing in real estate to go to the Investor Club on Saturday. With $7, I would say join the Investor Club and let's make it happen.
And I like that, Tiffany. You have the Investors Club. So Steven said I have 10K to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I take this 10K and I put it towards the investment club, the Investors Club membership, do I still need another 10K for my deposit?
You still would need another amount. I wouldn't say another 10K. You would still need down payment for the property you're purchasing.
But you're thinking the cash that I have goes towards a club, but now you're going to help me deal with the credit part to get the deposit to move forward in the transaction.
Absolutely. So once you do that, right, the first thing is we look at your credit, we build your credit up. Then we build up your corporation. So if you don't have a corporation, we actually get you incorporated, get you together with financial documents, and then also you'll be partnered up with the Investor Club. So now it looks like you have experience, that you have done this in the past. So if you go about it yourself, right, and you're trying to do a fix and flip on your own, and you have no experience whatsoever, the hard money lenders, you're going to have to put down at least 30%. With the Investor Club, you could bypass all that and put down only 10%, right?
Right.
So that's the difference.
Tiffany, there's this PMI. How? First of all, what is PMI? And secondly, how does the Investor Club manage it?
So PMI is principal mortgage insurance. So the Investor Club manager with hard money lenders, you don't have to pay PMI. You pay PMI when you do conventional or FHA loan, right? And another way to avoid PMI is putting down 20% down payment. However, let's say you don't have your tax return and you need a bank statement loan. With a bank statement loan, you could avoid PMI as well.
Okay, so when somebody puts down the 10%, they're below the 20% threshold. Are they going to get hit with PMI at that point?
No, not at all.
Okay, so this is very important because you want to basically buy low. To make money in real estate, it's not about owning real estate. It's about buying the real estate low enough so that when you sell it or you rent it, you could actually make positive cash flow or appreciation.
Correct.
Now, Tiffany, that's something you didn't really touch on. How long, if you buy a house in a good neighborhood, how long and what type of appreciation do you see over time generally? What's the trend that you've seen?
So the norm, like if we're going to go by data, right, across the board. So the normal appreciation is 10%. However, from ever since, the pandemic happened, the appreciation has been 20% on up and upward, right?
Yeah.
So it's been
absolutely
20%, right? And some properties get multiple bids. Like, for example, I listed 2 properties on Friday, right? So I have this little trick. Like Fridays are the prime days to list properties. So I actually stayed up late. Well, I always stay up late, but stayed up late and I listed the property at 12:30, right, a.m., right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I did that, I listed them a little bit lower than what it's really worth. Why did I get multiple offers by Saturday? So I listed on Friday and both properties in 2 different areas. One was all the way like like an hour away from the second property. And both properties got multiple offer, all above listing price. And cash offers too.
And are you going to tell us why?
Why? Because this market is hot and now is the time to get into this market. And another reason why is because my marketing skill is like phenomenal, and you got to stage your property the right way, right? You got to stage your property and you got to list it. So look, I'm just saying this to say that if you do a fix and flip, right? And say we do a fix and flip and is 300,000 that you purchase it for, and you put in 100,000, right? And you want to make at least like $100,000 profit, right? Because you know the property, we got a good deal, and this property is in a phenomenal neighborhood, and most of the properties in this neighborhood is selling for 600,000 or more. What I would do is, once we finish with that project, I will list it a little bit lower, right, than the market value, and have people do a bidding war. Why not?
Yes, absolutely. And you
So,
know what people need to realize is with the pandemic, the government has injected a lot of money into the economy, right? So we have a fiat currency, and with fiat currency, we pump in money. We could print money on demand, and we've printed 20% of the economy in the last 2 years. So that means that the value of the currency has actually devalued. It's been debased, right? And this comes from the old Romans, where they were actually putting metals into the coin to actually debase the metal, and that's where the term comes from. So with that, we're going to experience inflation, which is what we're seeing in the economy now. But guess what? A house is a house, and if that house was now $5, now the house is now $10, and the prices of houses are going to increase more and more with inflation. So this is actually a good time to get into real estate.
right. It's an excellent time to get into real estate. And right now, just across the board, the data for properties that's on the market is really low. We don't have enough property to house the residents that we have in this country right now. And particularly in the major states like Georgia, New York, California, Florida. It's not enough inventory out there. So that's why it's this bidding war going on, because it's not enough inventory. And so that's another reason that drove me. That's another why, right? That drove me into this investor club. Why not get together and get enough people to participate in this investor club that we can make a difference and put properties on the market that just sitting vacant with boarded windows? Why not rehab and make a difference and build up the community? Not only that you benefit monetary wise, but you benefit on a broader scale. You're helping the community out, and you helping families out that need shelter. Shelter is never going to go away. Everyone needs shelter, right?
Absolutely. I've seen businesses go away, but shelter people need.
People need, no matter what. No matter what.
So you brought up a very interesting point, and I'd like you to maybe explain a little more. When you go about driving and you're looking for houses, especially if you're going to buy one that you want to be able to put sweat equity in so that you can actually get more value for your money, what are the little key things that you look for that spot and be like, that's a good fixer-upper?
Well, the key things, again, is the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
The area and the bedroom count. So I'm not saying that X.
So what's the optimum bedroom count?
The ultimate is like 3 bedroom. I mean, if you have enough space to do an add-on, let's say you find a good one, it's only a 2 bedroom, one bath, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the land is big enough so you could do an addition, because the key is to at least have 3 bedrooms. No one really look for a 2 bedroom house.
Yeah. And how many bathrooms?
At least 2.
At least 2.
Yes, in this modern term, just 2. Like back in the days, in the 50s, 1 bedroom could do for the whole family. But the master suite always have to have a bathroom, right? Mm-hmm. Some people would like the half a bath because that's for their guests. They don't want their guests all over their house.
Yes. So when you go, let's say I said, Tiffany, I want to actually capitalize on both cash flow and appreciation. I want to double fist this thing, right? I want to go cha-ching, cha-ching. What is the buy percentage that you're typically looking for? So you want to buy something that you could flip it. How much percent less do you generally look for in that property, in your flip property, when you're going into buy?
So you want to look for at least 20 to 30%. It's very hard with properties that's on the market, and that's why it's very important to do wholesale properties, and we do that with the investor club. So you want to look for at least 20%, 30% onward, right? Like if you look at the database right now, the cap rate for rental is 6% across the board, but 6% is not gonna, it's gonna get you to your goals, but it's going to take a longer time. And then you got to also think real estate is for the long game, right? It's not just, oh, it's a get rich quick type scheme. It's not, right? You have to strategically plan things out. And you have to know some years might not be the best year, especially with different tenants, right? But you have to be wise enough to say, okay, if this is the standard, I want to go above the standard. So I'm going to take a little bit longer to do my research and search for the right property so I could get the maximum cap rate possible that's out there for me.
Absolutely. I mean, this market is so hot. I have a friend, and she was selling her house just before Christmas, which is a very slow time in the market, right? Yeah. That's like out of the whole year, Christmas time is the slowest, right? Everybody's on vacation, we partying, we having a good time, drinking punch creme and so on.
Right.
The house lists, and within 2 or 3 days, she has like 16 offers, 16 bookings, and she got like 3 offers.
Yes.
And above asking price.
Yes.
That's how hot real estate is right now.
That's how hot. And it's only because it's not enough inventory. So you want to take advantage in this state of the market because it's not going to always last. So if you're afraid and you say, well, maybe I should wait, maybe it's no waiting. Either you do or you don't, because it's not going to wait for you. You know how
you don't wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate, then you wait.
Wait. That's the right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And another thing you could do, because we talked about the passive income with rental, right? We talk about fix and flip, but we haven't touched on land, right? You could buy a property that you have to pretty much demolish. But let's say that property is sitting on 5 acres. That's a great buy because you could take that property and you could build a subdivision. So let's say that property is like 300,000. Right? That property on that land, and it's 5 acres. You could get that. You can see where it is zoned for before you purchase it. Let's say if it's zoned for residential, for that 5 acres, you get a civil engineer. You see how many homes you could put on that. So let's say you bought it for 300,000, and your civil engineer says, "Oh, you could put 10 homes on that." Right? Just think about it. You put 10 homes. You sell that 10 home for 400,000 a pop. How much equity are you making?
I saw a question coming in there on the ping, Andre, and I don't know if you put it up. Did you want to read it out? So Natalie, how things, primary school friend of mine, she's asking, what about land only?
Yeah, that's what we're just talking about, purchasing land only. But I was telling you a better way to purchase it, because land purchase is a little bit harder, right? If it's just completely raw land and you don't have the cash to purchase it, you have to put down 50%. But if it has a little property on it, right, that is needs to be demolished, guess what? Your down payment on that will be like 20 or 30%. If you join the club, maybe we could get you 10%. So it's better to get a land that has a little piece of property on it that you can actually purchase.
There's a teeny.
So land only is 50% down payment if it's just straight land, but as soon as you put a piece of property in that, you're back to cutting a deal.
Back to cutting a deal. I mean, you're not cutting a deal when you're buying. If you have the cash reserve,
if you have the cash, you're good anyway.
You're good anyways, right? Yeah. Because you want to purchase the land and own the land before you get the construction loan, right? Because it will be harder. They're gonna want too much information to get the construction loan to acquire the land. But if you already own the land, you're one step ahead of the game. So then you have more skin in the game. So then your down payment will be less. It's all about having a skin in the game and what you invest, right? And that's how lenders would take that chance with you.
So Tiffany, you're giving away a lot of gold nuggets here. Pure gold. Now the thing is, let's say I bought this house, big land, and it has a small little property, right? You mentioned ADU and DADU. Tell us, what does that mean? And tell us, how does that apply to this land that we're talking about?
So it means a lot. So so it means, so ADU, right? And what's the second one you said?
DADU.
DADU. So basically that means unit development, right? It means
Yeah.
unit development. It means that, okay, if you're buying a piece of land, you have to.
Yeah, this is the attached dwelling units.
Right. So if you're buying a piece of land, right? If you're buying a piece of land, you have to find out what is zoned for first. So some areas is zoned for ADU, some is zoned for, detached, right? So some is zoned for attached, which is townhomes, condos, and then the other one is single family residence, right? So you have to see which one is zoned for. So the difference between attached and detached is basically attached, you could get more units in there. Right?
This is why you don't want to just go and buy a piece of land, because you don't know the zoning and you need the knowledge. You need people who know this, otherwise you could get yourself in a lot of hot water.
Right. Zoning is very, very important, because with attached, instead of getting 10 homes, you could get 20 units because it's attached, right? When it's detached, it's zoning guidelines that you have to follow. Like the lot size has to be like 5,000 square feet. So you can have a little bit of land, or, front and back space. So with the detached, you don't need to have that. You just need to have a common area. So it's a lot of rules that goes into it. So when you're trying to build a subdivision, like I'm building a subdivision right now in Mableton, Georgia, and let me tell you, they've been kicking my butt. So that that land, when I purchased it, I did have my civil engineer. I got a civil engineer on my team. I have a project manager on my team. So we checked out the land. We know that the land is buildable. That's another key. Not all land is buildable, okay? So we checked it out and made sure that the land was buildable. I purchased the land free and clear, no loans, no anything like that. But in the neighborhood that the land is in, it's in a phenomenal neighborhood, but it's not for someone that's new to development, right? It's for people that has like the big builders per se, right? So I purchased the land, and it's zoned for R20, which is residential. And with that particular zoning, the lot needs to be 20,000 square feet, right? So with that being said, I only could put 16 homes on it. But if I get it rezoned, I could put 32 townhomes, right? So me, I'm like, it would be better to do 32 downtown homes than 16 single family residents. So I did try to get a rezone. And of course, all the neighbors start petitioning, blah, blah, blah. And so when I really, really sat down, that's another thing too. You have to really sit down and crunch the numbers. So when I really sat down and crunched the numbers, I found out that I could get more money doing it as a single family rather than a townhome, even though I'm going to be building more townhome, because in that particular area, it's not really built for the townhome living. It's built for more family living. So you always got to know who your neighbors are, and you have to get on their good side as well.
Absolutely. Neighbors could really crush you. The neighborhoods can crush you.
Yes, especially when it comes to that zoning, because a lot of them come together and they will stick together, because a lot of people don't like to see change. They are afraid of change. Like I had this one neighbor, right? He's going to tell me, I had to do with the commissioner and everybody, right? He's 90 years old. He's going to say, well, I don't want you to start building because I want to enjoy in the green pasture until I die.
Yes.
You don't even own the land. You don't have a say so. But of course I was politically correct. But in my back of my mind, I was like, dude, you don't own this land. You can't tell me I can't build because you want to see green pasture.
So there is, you brought up something very interesting that made me think, right? Do you have a formula when you should flip versus when you should actually hold it to rent it?
Yes. So it's all about,
share a little nugget with us.
It's all about the equity margin, right? So if the equity margin, let's say, for example, if you sell, you'll make 30%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's take that back. Let's say you'll make 20%, right? So let's say if it's 300,000 and you're making 20%, that is what, $60,000, right?
On the flip, you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say it's a room for you to net 60,000 after all fees are said and done. However, on the rental side, you could actually net that on a yearly basis, it would be better to rent because that's a one-time $60,000 versus multiple times $60,000. You hold it for 5 years, then you probably would triple or quadruple how much you have made over time.
So it's like 20% about your threshold?
20% is a threshold. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a very important tip she just gave there. 20% threshold. If you're going to do a flip, when you decide, no, long term, you're better off keeping the property and renting it out versus flipping it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then another key too, if you're not really a numbers person, and let's say you're doing a flip, you bought a property and it's like a 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom house, maybe that house is better to flip than to rent because you're not going to get, not that you're not going to get, but you may have a turnover with tenants. Let's say if the rent is exceeding $4,000 a month, you may have more for turnover. So you want to say, okay, can I deal with the headache as a landlord and wait it out? Or do I just want to get the money up front?
So these are the kind of things that you help with in your program to help people, guide them, and help to create a support structure to walk them through.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I can absolutely see we needing that kind of support system in order to really thrive in the real estate industry.
Yeah, so in the program, right, when we get to a point that on paper you're phenomenal, you will not get turned down by a lender, then we start little scenarios. Is this fix, or is this flip, or is this rent?
Yeah.
This is yours. Here's the two equations. What makes better sense for you?
Yeah. Oh, so I see a
Came
question
in from Angie White.
Huh?
I said a question that came in from Angie White is on the screen.
Yes.
Said in North Carolina, property owners can actually stop you from building because of sun rights, meaning you can't build even if you own the land to block any part of the sun on my property. Is Georgia the same?
No, Georgia is not the same. But yes, because guess what? I took my North Carolina exam tonight, so I can be licensed in North Carolina. And in some areas, you cannot build properties that's more than 2 stories in North Carolina. So yes.
But Georgia doesn't have the same rule.
Georgia doesn't have the civilian cannot stop you, but the zoning commission can stop you, and the commissioner can stop you if you don't meet certain criteria.
Right.
Yes.
Now, I want to assume, Tiffany, because you're based out of Georgia, that's a stronghold, right? That's the city you probably know best. So say someone like myself who bounces around a lot, and I'm currently in Florida, and I might be in New York or I might be in California in 6 months. Which direction will you steer me in? Like, where do I first grab my first property? Do you go where do you go where it's hot, and where it's hot right now in the US? Like, which states is the hottest right now?
You go where it's hottest, but I would say this.
And not hot as far as temperature. I'm talking hot as far as money, right?
Right. I would say this. Even though my headquarters is based in Georgia, I didn't always start off in Georgia. I bounced around. Like, I was born in New York, raised in California. I first became licensed in the state of California, and that's the California game, right? So, and I'm licensed in New York, and I'm licensed in Florida. So I know those areas, those top states, like the back of my hand. Like, especially in California, I don't even need GPS to find my way around.
Got it. Yeah.
So I bounce around as well. And I try to stay educated. I stay educated on the market. Like, I read every day. I study every day. I'm always taking an exam because it's up to me to stay on top of the knowledge so I could then feed it to my clients, right?
Right.
But to answer your final question, if you're first starting out, you want to start off in a state that has the less inventory that you can make the most profit. Like, for a California deal, you're going to need a lot of money in California. You're going to need a lot of money in New York because the competition in those states is fairly high. And the median price range in New York and California is not the same as Georgia or some places in Florida, right? And some places in Florida is extremely high. And then Florida has a lot of HOAs because they have these communities that you could get different things out of. So you have to take all of that into consideration when you're purchasing. You have to say to yourself, okay, this is my credit. This is the amount of money that I have right now, where can I start and make the type of money that I need to eventually go to the states that I want to benefit in, right? You have to start somewhere, if that makes
Okay.
sense. I hope
So,
that
I mean, your first property is something that we're not going to flip. We're going to buy as to build, right? To own and to rent out and to build our capital towards the next investment. So I have my first property. I'm in Florida. Do I want to be where I could property manage, or it's fine? I could get it in New York. I could get a property manager. I could get it in Atlanta. I could get a property manager because it's a better deal. Which one would you recommend?
Well, it just depends on if you're hands-on, right? So
I'm hands off. So in my case, I'm hands off, right? I don't want to go and fix a sink. I don't want to go and clean, or fix a broken toilet.
So you're hands off. So since
Yeah.
you're hands off, it could be anywhere that you can
Could be
maximize
anywhere.
profit. But let's say, like, remember earlier the example we gave that if they're going to live in that property, if you're going to live in one of the units, it has to be
Right.
your state.
Okay. And do you heavily recommend that as a first start, where you live and rent part of the unit?
Well, like I said, everybody's situation is different. Everyone has a different situation, right? So let's say you need down payment assistance. You don't have any money right now. Then yes, it's
You're gonna
best
probably have to end up living in the
your
place.
state. Get a property in your state where you work, where you live, so you can manage that property, right? If you have the money, then you could go anywhere.
Right.
But it all depends on that individual. And the program is customized to meet each individual where they are and to build them up to where they want to go.
Okay. So, I mean, wow, time really flew. We're almost an
Yeah.
hour in. So if I have, what would you recommend at this point, right? I have money tied up in stocks. I have cash flow, which I'm just keeping in the bank because, they said during a pandemic, you got to have cash in case things just go shit face, right? Would you recommend me leaving that money where it is, or saying, you know what, the money in your program will work way smarter, faster, better than leaving it in the stock market at 26% returns per year? Like, what, that's what I'm battling with. Where do I stick my funds to quickly make not the fastest return, but a solid return, and to spread my, my portfolio?
I am an advocate for real estate, so I would say you want to do it in real estate. I'm not saying to empty out your stock market or empty out your savings,
right?
But you want to invest in real estate. If you're trying to build generational wealth, that's
Right.
pretty much the safest way and the fastest way.
Right.
Right?
So even if I ask Stephen for a loan, I could ask Stephen for a loan and
Yes.
invest in you, make that money and then pay him back in 6 months.
Absolutely, because there's different ways to be creative. For example, let's say you don't get approved for the down payment assistance, right? But you have a family member, you have your papa, you have your mama, you have your brother, your sister, and they have some money. You can say, look, bro, I'm trying to purchase this house and the down payment is $15,000. I know you got me, right? Like, you could give it to me as a gift because you my brother, you my family member, and then in 6 months from now, because look how much your property is worth. I'm buying it for $300,000, but it's worth $350,000. 6 months from now, I could pull that equity out and pay you back, but we can't tell the bank that.
Yeah.
So it's a creative way to do things, right? So you just have to
Okay.
get with someone that has your best interest, that's going to feed you the game. Because a lot of people make real estate, but a lot of people don't give you the fine prints and how to get it. Right. And I started off doing loans. So that's why I know how loans work. And then I know how real estate work.
Right.
Yes. From A to Z, I got you.
Nice.
I see Natalie popping in a good question there.
Yep. I purchased several cash pieces of land in Florida, ended up selling 2 pieces at 200% profit within 10 days. Do you think it's financially better to build a home on it and sell at a bigger dollar profit, or continue to sell when the opportunity comes?
If you have the stomach and the appetite to build a home, I would build that because you'll make 1,000% profit, right? If you're selling them now, you're making 200% profit. Just think about when you build it, right? Build the land outright. You can get a construction loan at pretty much, since you have all this assets on you, you probably could get a construction loan for 100%. You never know. We just have to look at your financial situation. So it's not like you're coming out with extra money. You build that house, build a couple of those homes, and make 1,000%. That's better than 200% any day.
1,000 is better than 200.
So there's another aspect, right, that you brought up here very, very well, is that you start off and we all have these dreams, right? And in the copy for this today, we said, if you have a dream, but you're not taking any action, you're basically just daydreaming.
Right.
But however, you start taking action and you don't really have a vision and a plan, you have no guidance, no knowledge, you're basically going to have a nightmare.
Yes.
And what Tiffany is outlining here for you today is, how do you go from having nothing, from rags, to making some income, and actually starting to basically grow that and accelerate that into single homes, into multiplexes, and so on? What is it, right? Somebody's starting out and they say, here's what, I don't have the stomach. Maybe I want to start to acquire knowledge, but I don't want to invest it in stuff. Is there a realtor aspect of it that can help them with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So realtors pretty much have a fiduciary duty to their clients. So you want to get with a realtor that's very educated, so they could educate you on the do's and the don'ts, what's trending, what's not trending, the data, all that good stuff, where to look, without staring you. So a realtor aspect really come into place because it will not only give you the knowledge, but also the tools to be successful and hold you accountable. Like, I'll hold my clients accountable. When a client comes to me and say, oh, I want to purchase my first home, but I noticed that they're entrepreneurs. I said, okay, you're going to purchase your first home, but what about this building? You're going to need a building to run your business because you want to be in control. You want to be a boss in every aspect of your life. If you're renting and you're the tenant, right, that landlord could get in their feelings or whatever. People are very emotional, right? And that landlord, if let's say you had a bad month and you're late on your rent, that landlord could kick you out. In certain states, you could get evicted without any warning. In other states, of course, you need notices, but it's always best to have a realtor on your side that could read the fine prints and educate you on the deals that you're doing. And just rest assured, all realtors, we're licensed in a way, and brokers licensed in a way that we have that fiduciary duty to do you right, make sure that there's no fraud going on, make sure that you're protected in all aspects. If you're going about it by yourself and you're buying from a seller and you don't know the terms, that seller could take advantage of you,
Mm-hmm.
The realtor is going to tell you, oh, let's do your inspection, let's look for mold, let's look for all these things that you're not going to be thinking of. Especially if you're buying in a state you have no idea about what goes on in that state. Like, for example, Georgia has a lot of termites, right? So when you get a property out here, you want to make sure you get a termite clearance letter to make sure that there's no termite in that property. So a year from now, you don't see your wood getting destroyed, whatever the case may be, So it's different things that your realtor is different things that your realtor could give you the knowledge to actually accomplish your goals on a quicker basis, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. We're at the top of the hour, right? So we're going to get ready to wind up. What we'd like to do is a couple of things before we leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Dre, you could wind this all up. But the first thing is, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's your contact information? What's your handle? How do people get in touch with you?
So my handle at Instagram is at TAMG Realty. TAMG Realty, guys. Let me just tell you what TAMG stands for. The Apparent Manifestation of God. Okay? That's why I built this firm on. So my handle is TAMG Realty. You could contact me at 678-278-9439 or visit us on the web at tmgrealty.com.
And you were mentioning something about Saturday. What's going on Saturday?
So Saturday, we have our investor club, Lunch and Learn. That's where we feed you if you're in the city of Georgia. But if you're not in if you're not in the state of Georgia, you could tune in virtually. You just will miss the food, but you won't miss the knowledge. We have a a platform of like 7 experts, like home inspectors, appraisal, closing attorney, that would tell you about taxes. Because when you purchase and fix and flip and you making such a large income in real estate, Uncle Sam needs his, right? But the tax expert would tell you how you could save on your taxes. So we have everyone that knows that is an expert in every field when it comes to real estate that will be on the platform, giving you the knowledge that you need to be successful. And it's only $20. That's the price of lunch. So it's not like you're paying for anything, because if you're in the city, you're going to spend $20 on food anyways. If you go to Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
$15.
That's this Saturday, right? The 22nd, you said?
Saturday the 22nd, yes.
And how long is that? How long is that online? Oh, how long is it going to be? An hour, 2 hours?
So 2 hours.
2 hours.
Maybe we should call in.
Yeah, you guys should call in. Come on.
Yeah, and we spoke about this. You said for someone who doesn't want to go all the way in, it might be a good starting point to kind of understand and get a feel for what you guys do.
Right, because with the Investor Club, we help you get your first deal, right? Without you being so hands-on. But then you learn the program, right? You learn everything from A to Z. But then you don't let's say if you have a 9-to-5 that you can't get away, and you can't project manage the fix and flip, because it's very important when you're doing a flip, you have to project manage the construction team, because if the construction team does not follow a timeline, it will screw up your profit in the long run. Okay, so it's not as easy as people think. You really need a team to make it happen and to profit at the maximum level.
And you have a team that you could
definitely have a team. Yeah, I mean, my company, we have over 16 agents. We have a project manager, we have a civil engineer. That's not even including the 16 agent. A project manager, civil engineer, business developer, marketer. Yeah, it's a one-stop center here. We also do the loans here as well. So this is where you go. You don't have to worry.
Damn, I could have refinanced with you, Tiffany.
Absolutely. You know.
All right, guys, ready? Top of the hour. Dre, why don't you have anything for us before we close today?
No, I think we hit it all. It's really about us just kind of go over the points. I mean, the key thing is having good credits, right? So you want to have good credits, you want to build towards that. And Tiffany, as I call this out, tell me if I'm right or wrong. Once you have good credit, you obviously you contact someone. In this case, we'll go to Tiffany's company, TMG Realty, and say, hey, I'm looking to start up some passive income and I'd like to get involved in real estate. She will then say, hey, what are you trying to make? You want to make, $100K a year? You want to make $50K, $20K based off of that? Then we go house hunting or property. We look for a property that's best suited towards that budget. Her company will then guide us into the deal structure to make sure that, we had to get support with our down deposit, or hopefully be able to take care of it on our own. After that, we own the property. That's where it kind of got all shaky. Then Tiffany, so we own it now. What does your company do at this point? Help us get someone to come in there and rent it from us? How long do we hold on to it for? Do we sit back at that point and then gather another 3, 4 months, 6 months of revenue before we go into our next deal? That's where we kind of, my questions, I guess a little bit hazy. Right. Yeah.
And Lisa also have a question, but to answer your question, once you own the property and you want to keep the property, we will help you find a tenant.
Okay.
Right?
You can do that as well.
Yes, we definitely do that. And we also property manage it. I do have a property manager, so we can also property manage that property. And then, like for people that want an Airbnb, I have a class for that, right? So if you join the Investor Club, that class is free. So it'll give you the knowledge and how to Airbnb, and then it gives you different websites that you can actually list your Airbnb property on as well.
Okay.
So, and then as far as like, let's say when we construct a plan for you, you said you want to make X amount of dollars. You purchase your first property. Right? In that plan, it's going to have a timeline when you purchase your second property, your third property, so you can hit your goal. So you're not looking for long periods. Right?
So technically, before I even get the first property, we already have a plan laid out with you guys saying this is what we're trying to do.
Yes.
This is the timeline.
Yes.
and then you're going to help us work towards that timeline,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So it's not, okay, let's just get the first one and then we figure it out. This is what we need to do in the next year. We want to get this, that. So house 1 today, property 2 in 3 months, property 3 hopefully in 9 months. So it might be a year and a half, and you guys, we lay that out. Okay, good. Let's go back to the question that you brought up. I think basically Lisa, she started off saying that she was a landlord in New York for the 50 years. She moved to Connecticut 6 years ago, purchased a house after selling her first home in New York. And now she wants to know if she should purchase another property.
Yes, and I think she said that she's in Connecticut. I am licensed in Connecticut as well. So
Yeah.
she should purchase another property. If you're trying to build wealth through real estate, yes, you should purchase another property. What is your goals? If you don't mind me asking.
Right. So Lisa, you need to go. So Lisa, this sounds like you could get involved in this. First, you could do this course, so you could get involved in the investors club.
Right. Yeah, you should join the investor club, and we'll tell you all about it. But yes, you definitely should buy another property, especially in Connecticut. And if you need help in Connecticut, we could definitely help you there.
Okay, good. And then Angie's asking a question. Can you manage out-of-state property? And do we have to sign a power of attorney?
You don't have to sign a power of attorney, and it depends on what state you're in. So just let me know what state you're in. Right now, we're currently licensed in 8 states, and we're working on 4 additional states before spring. And then we're working on 3 countries. So the 3 countries I'm working on is Jamaica, because you know my mom is from Jamaica, so I got to get licensed out there. So
bow.
And then my dad is from Trinidad, so you know I got to get it out there as well, especially for soca time and rent it out, you know. So and then Antigua. So
okay, so internationally, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Antigua.
Yes.
Today, you're ready to you could do business with your company for those places. So that's what you're planning on.
Working on those places to get licensed in those places. I'm currently licensed in 8 states, and I'm working on 4 others that I should be licensed before the spring.
Great.
And I know for sure I'll be licensed in Jamaica by the summertime. Trinidad and Antigua is a little bit more hard work. So, you know, I'm still working those details out.
Right. Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, yes. Puerto Rico is the United States. So it's part of the United States. So that's easy. So I will definitely get licensed out there as well.
Awesome.
And I know a couple of my agents, like I have one agent, she's from Barbados, so she wants me to get licensed in Barbados. And then I have one from the Dominican. So those are the other 2 countries as well.
Okay. If coming off blind, like say I decide, you know, I'm gonna be guinea pig number 1 and I'm gonna sign up and join the club. Once I join, do I now get associated with other people in the club like myself?
Yes.
Like-minded people, or am I alienated?
No.
And I have to bring my friends like Stephen with me.
No, you're going to meet a lot of people from different walks of life, and they're going to tell you the experience. Like I have one lady, she's still part of the club, and she's 5 properties in, right?
Right.
Yeah, she's 5 properties in, and she has 3 commercial building and 2 residential property. Okay,
nice. Oh, and as you said that, to join the club, is it a one-time fee or is it an annual thing?
It's just a one-time fee.
One-time fee? Lifetime?
It's not lifetime.
Or one-time fee and a plan?
A one-time fee and a plan. Yes.
Got it.
But you have me for a lifetime.
I want to make a 50-year plan.
Yeah. I'd like to make that 75-year plan, please. That includes my kids and my grandkids. Hey, but no, that's good. So that's good. I didn't know that. I actually was thinking too, it was like an annual fee or, you know, until you do a next deal. So that's actually, you can make that money back in a decent amount of time and not even look back.
Less than 3 months, 6 months if you follow the formula, you know, just depends on where you are. But it's not like.
Susanna's asking, what's the fee to join the club?
To join the club is $7,500.
$7,500.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
So it's less than $10,000. And you get that money back in no time, because that $7,500 if fixes your credit. If you need credit repair, you get your corporation documents. You don't have to pay for, you know, the state licensing fee and all that other stuff. We do everything for you. We have attorneys and we have tax preparers to help you on every step of the way.
Awesome. What happens in a case like if Stephen and I wanted to go half on that?
Well, you guys could do it as a partner.
As a partner, yeah, like we're partners, and we're like, hey, let's just put in half and go into this club and get a property or build. Yeah.
So the plan won't be individual; it will be as a
For
partner.
both of us together as one. Yeah.
And then when we set up your corporation, it will be a partnership corporation. And then we
Okay.
have the operating agreement and all the other documents that the lender may need.
Okay, good. Awesome. That answers my questions.
You know, I want to leave a closing story about something that you said earlier, Andre. And the story goes like this. If you work for $100,000, right, 100K, then Uncle Sam takes, let's say he takes 25%. So he's being generous. He's only taking 25%. That means you have $75,000 left.
Mhm.
Of these $75,000 left, let's say you're a disciplined person. You could save, not only save, but you could save consistently year over year over year for the next 16 years. Then you will save basically $35,000, right? So you're saving $35,000. Now let's say Tiffany came in and she said, listen, I have a property. We're gonna buy it at basically $250,000, and we're gonna put another 150 in and basically tune it up, you know. So now we're at what, 250 plus 50, that's 400,000. And we'll be able to sell this property back at $1 million because we put in the work into it and now it's in a good neighborhood. That means you would have net, or maybe because that million came because maybe she put on an attachment onto the house, right?
Right.
That's $600,000 you would have made in a year. Think about how much saving you would have to do making 100K, $35,000 in savings per year. You need to save for 16 years to make that 600K.
Right. And you can make it in a year's time.
And you can make it in a year's time.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the kind of
I think
power
a lot
real
of the
estate.
hesitancy comes, you know, especially with someone like myself. I'm thinking, right, $7,500, you know, and oh my gosh, but you're not seeing the big picture. We never look at the big picture. We're always thinking about the initial, you know, outlay. And that's why I like what Jay upscale when we had the last call, you know, he explained the value and the importance of having a good coach and having people or experts on your side that knows, because you're basically, I'm just paying someone or the experts to do what they're good at, as opposed to me spending my time trying to dig and work it out and make mistakes and bump my head. And yeah, as a lot of times I'm like, people might just think, oh, that's a lot of money. But if you told me on the flip side, $7,500 could turn around into 100K in 6 months or a year, I won't even look back.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we have to self-improvement people a lot of times, or people in general. Right? We always think, oh, how much is it? But when you know the value, then you don't even ask how much it is.
Right. Like take me, for example, I'm gonna give you a little story, right?
Yeah.
So my first in Georgia, right? My first commercial building I purchased for the real estate company, right? Because at the time, you know how we had the crash in 2008, right? With the real estate. So we had the crash. So to me, it was like, who moved my cheese type thing. I wanted to learn something else. And my second passion is cooking, right? So I became a chef, cooking it up. I was on the Food Network doing my thing, right? Anywho, long story short, I did not own that building that I had my restaurant in, right? So the landlord, she wanted a piece of my pie because she saw that I was blowing up at the time. And I told her no. She put boards on my window the day that I was supposed to have 25 food critics. That's why I said it's very important for you to own your own real estate. I'm talking about life experience, what I've experienced myself. That's how I'm able to teach, right? So fast forward to so that would happen in 2014. So pretty much I lost everything, right? I lost everything because I went into a court action lawsuit with her, blah, blah, blah. So I lost everything. So I had to pick up the pieces all over again in 2016, right? And I'm like, forget it. I'm going back into what I know best, which is real estate, right? So in 2016, I opened my real estate firm. I purchased my first building in 2018 because, you know, I had to take little steps, right? So I purchased my first building in Georgia at 157,000. And between me purchasing that building and having passive income in other buildings I purchased, and then also, you know, doing some fix and flip, I purchased a $3.3 million building last year in February. So from 2018 to 2021, even during a pandemic, I was able to purchase a $3.3 million building from going from 157,000 to over 3 million. And that's not the only assets that I have. That's just an example of what you can do over time if you strategically plan, you know?
Right.
So
Awesome. Does the club teach due diligence?
yes, absolutely. Because you can't, like I said, you have to be strategic. You can't just say, oh, I want to start off at 3.3 million. You need to start up somewhere and then build your way up. So you have to do your due diligence.
Nice. Well, I mean, folks, I think I got all my answers. Stephen, you touched on a lot of different things. We're well over the hour mark. I thought this would have been done in half an hour. But clearly when it comes to making money, the conversation will never be short.
Right.
Anything else, Stephen?
No, peoples. We covered a lot of ground tonight. We covered a lot of things that are deep and personal to us, and that we wanted to share with you because we think it's valuable to the Caribbean community. We are an ambitious people, and we all just want opportunity. And for that, we need knowledge, and we're here to provide that knowledge for you so that you could all get an opportunity to really make generational wealth for you and your kids.
Yes.
Yeah, and what I like about this, though, guys, on the real is, you know, people out there again will be, hey, you know, who's this Tiffany Gray and what's she trying to sell us? But what I do love is Tiffany is from, you know, West Indian heritage, you know, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Tiffany could go on and do a thing with or without us. So I like the fact that you're now coming and working within the Caribbean community to help us have opportunity to build, you know, generational wealth. And, you know, learn from you and, you know, your expertise. And that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, you know, because if you were just, I don't know, Black American or Hawaiian or nothing to do with the Caribbean, it might be, what's going on here? What is the angle Tiffany's on? But I do, you know, and I was watching one of your Instagram stories and I saw you at the basketball game, the Hawks game with your mom.
Yeah.
But you were loving the fact that your mom was going off with a Jamaican patois at the team losing. And you were so like, hey, you were so, that caught me because I'm thinking, you know, Tiffany wants to get a tie back to the Caribbean. And if that's working with us to build real estate, you know, and do other things that you can grow with us and love what we do and we love our, you know, and grow the culture, then it made me feel a little bit happier, you know, because I'm thinking, yeah, this is somebody I'm comfortable with. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom, she's straight Jamaican. And that's
yeah. What a blood clots are going with the Atlanta Hawks today.
yeah. And she's
missed the blood.
Like everyone around, like in our, because I have season tickets, right? So everyone in our little section, they love my mom because they love her, and I just love going. It just brings joy to my heart to see that I'm able.
And I love that. Shout out to Wayne Ramsey on the thing. He said much needed info, guys. So big up Wayne, long time.
Wayne, big up, man. Long time no see.
Yeah. So yeah. If we could keep this going, you know, and another series or conversation, and we could be, you know, specific, we'll take any, you know, DMs, feedback, comments, you know, to email us. You know, you have all Tiffany's information, and of course on Instagram is at TAMG Realty. Hit us up, hit her up, find out more about her club, and, you know, joining the Investors Club. I think Stephen and I are going to go for it. What do you say?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So in about a year and a half, we'll be talking about, maybe 3 years, we'll be talking about our $3.5 million deal. And we'll start off small, but, you know, in 3.5 years, we'll be talking about the $5.5 million deal.
Right.
But that's it, guys. You know, think about it, make it an action item.
We'll be sitting down in our booth watching the game too, right? With our family and being like, hey, blood clot, Atlanta.
Yeah, we bring all our Jamaican and Trini and Antigua and all the Caribbean family, and we'll take them to the Hawks game or the Heat game or whatever, you know, the Knicks game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiffany, anything else before we close?
And I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. I thank you guys, and let's keep this going. Let's build communities, guys. Let's build generational wealth for our families, our friends, family, and for our country. Like, we need to go back to our country and build in our country.
Facts.
Let's do it.
All right, people. Thank you much.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Until the next time, stay tuned to our Instagram and Facebook for the next one. Love you all.
Thank you.